What were you at last year?
Oh, last year at this time when we announced we were only at 25.
Oh, wow.
It's been very different, so.
Just keeps the momentum, just keeps going on that
Yeah,
festival.
it's-
Okay, moving on to promotions.
So the promotions committee did meet, and basically went over, kind of got a, an update as far as on the ongoing projects that we're gonna be discussing. So really, that's kind of where we focused on that. If we can kind of move on. I don't think anything more was discussed in that meeting.
Okay.
No, we weren't doing anything going into summer season.
Moving on to downtown enhancement. Downtown enhancement committee met.
The downtown enhancement committee did meet, and we started looking at the Merchants Walkway project and discuss the way forward. I am going to share with you
Thanks, Jen.
the new revised plan that Vanessa and I met a couple times. Well, she got it to me, we've met in the committees and had some, couple changes, and then we're back to what the revised concept now. So, okay, we have the Merchants Walkway, we have the walkway coming in from Spring Street, coming up from Bay Street, and then, this is the key for the elements that will be in the walkway. So basically, as you come in from Spring Street, you have the walkway coming down. In this area, we have a, half wall garden, no benches, gardens in front of this property and gardens along here. And there is an existing light. So she did incorporate that along with adding another light, a water feature, some seating around that. Then on the west end where the half wall is, an additional garden and another small area of seating and more gardens there. So you can see it this way. This is the angle coming up from Spring Street. And, she put these in as far as the logos, they could be something like a compass rose. They could be a city logo. They could be the DDA logo, or there could be nothing. And those are all possibilities. These are elements and ideas. And there's the existing half wall to the west. It's running right by you. It's at Rocking Horse. As we come down from Spring Street, it is again the concrete with the brick edging coming down, or the stamped edging, and then the garden, half wall extending that way. And then she did include signs entering both ends of the walkway. Again, those are options that we can have or not choose to use. So it's a pretty simplistic concept. And so you can see coming down from the walkway, just the walkway cleaned up, going down the stairs into that space, and then gardens. I think this is the final rendering. Yeah. So this is from Spring Street again. You can see the new light water feature down here. All of the water feature, these benches are all on city property, coming down Bay Street. And then up here, and then just garden areas, on the adjacent property owners' property. And then
Would you like to comment on what we didn't? Would you like to comment on what we didn't do or what we took out on those opposed property lines?
Yeah, we made sure that there was no seating on any of the adjacent property, because originally there had been some benches and things, and we know that those residents don't necessarily want that. So we did remove those. And again, the benches, these are elements. At this point, this is a concept. I mean, this is not the set in stone that this bench is going to look this way. These are concept designs. At this point, we need to now move from the concept design into the engineering and bidding phase. And, you know, Vanessa from OHM is getting me a bid proposal for them. She told me that they, at this point, have the time to do, you know, the engineering and bid proposal, as well as they, you know, obviously we can have benchmark at this, up to this point, we've spent about just over $3,000 from benchmark on the surveys that we have done so far for the Merchants Walkway and the elevations and things like that. So we can proceed with either benchmark or OHM, and I can get quotes from both. I mean, that's where we are now. Guys have any thoughts, discussions about the overall concept?
It would seem to me pretty simple to go with OHM as far as just,
That was, we talked about in downtown enhancement as well,
Yeah.
especially because they said that they have the capacity, and we know that everyone who's worked with Benchmark knows that they're slammed right now. So
Well, and I
having
think
some-
they've done a fantastic job with design elements and things that we've asked to be removed and changed thus far.
And she
Before we
did
got there.
change some of the, you know, there have been landscaping, and I know that the Nolans requested to keep it like hydrangeas, and so she did change those concepts. But again, all of that stuff can be,
I think,
you know, discussed when we go into the landscaping bid too.
I think it looks a lot more cohesive than the first, the first couple renderings we saw. It's a lot more cohesive. It's a lot more what.
I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot more what it used to look like, and kind of sticking with the original look of the area. Sticking with what continues down the west, which is something that we had talked about in our original meetings as well. So, and I think it kind of hits high points for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of checks all the boxes that everybody was looking for, the water feature, simplicity, something that isn't going to require a ton of maintenance going forward as far as like,
Yep.
to maintain, so we don't ever have the city back in, or the DDA back in this position of having to repair something that was already done. Yeah, I think every aspect of the elements, I think the lighting is nice, but it's not overly lit where
We talked
residents are
about-
going to have a problem with that.
Using the dome
Yeah,
lights because of
I-
that, so it wasn't like emitting light.
And the lights that are back there, I think are really nice. They will be easily maintained. You don't have to worry about snow or snow removal. Yeah, I think they did a great job. I would definitely,
and they're dark sky friendly, the lighting.
yeah,
So I think the only thing we really need to move on today is just whether or not we would go with OHM and have them send out the engineering and construction bids. Is that?
Well, I need a motion to approve this concept, or
Right, no.
as is,
Right.
or with, whether we.
I would make a motion to approve as is and.
I'm sorry, did you take public comment or no?
Public comment at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
I would second.
Agreed.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that motion's carried, and then we need to move on with motioning for OHM to send it out for engineering and construction bid.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for that. Sorry.
I'll second. Anyone opposed?
You guys have a time frame on that? It looks really cool.
We don't, at this point, it's gonna be, kind of up to the contractors and the bidding, and it has to go the engineering phase in the bidding process. It would be great if contractors were available as soon as possible, but it's probably unlikely.
I agree. Anticipation would hopefully fall.
I think
Get
it's
someone
gonna be
lined up for it.
Moving on to Third Street lights.
Okay, so we've all got that application as well. Down here. Third Street lighting. Okay. Okay, Third Street lighting. So we all know in 2017, the holiday lighting was added to the trees on Third Street, and the lighting was approved by City Council to coincide with the Main Street holiday lights. And over the past 5 years, the lights needed repair and replacement due to squirrels, weather, and tree growth. Since 2017, the DDA spent $45,299 on the installation, replacement, and repair of the lighting to date. So when I think that we mentioned this at the last meeting, when I had the Alex from Holiday Lighting come out, he said that that after looking at them, there were several trees out and we needed to do a full replacement. And that quote was $15,000 that he gave me on that. So, oops. We started looking at it and we realized that the DDA that they'd spent initially, I think it's about $22,000 in the installation. And since then, I spent $18,495 on the lighting and the repair. Which has come out, basically that the lights have cost the DDA $7,000, over $7,000, $7,549 annually. Were we to do the replacement clock cost in 2023, that brings that number up to $60,299. And which would give us an annual cost up to date of $10,000. At that point, we started talking and looking at what are some other options. Were there some possible permanent options or permanent LED lot options, permanent decorative lot options that we're not going to have the same issues as the weather, the squirrels, and the
Tree growth.
Yeah, the tree growth. So as you can see, this is a picture where the conduit's just coming off the tree. I mean, this is there right now because the tree has grown and it's popping the screws out. And so it goes that way.
Margaret, is it safe to say right here that what was really budgeted was $3,500 a year for maintenance and repairs?
Yes, yeah,
Original.
Which,
yeah,
I mean,
originally.
what, if you go back to that slide before where it says, this, $7,500 a year, I mean, I don't think you can really consider infrastructure as being part of a yearly cost.
Well, it's cost spent. I mean, it's some.
It's some
Yeah,
cost, but I mean, that was
yeah.
agreed upon no matter what. That is not part of maintenance costs.
I know, it's not
No,
being-
it's part of
It's not
what
being considered maintenance.
No, it's we're looking at what we've spent to date per year when you take the.
Because I mean,
total.
when you take and say that the yearly maintenance costs are gonna be $3,000. That's not, when you're saying that and then saying, oh, well, this is what we spent, that's not like a good comparison. And saying that. Does anyone understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that does not make sense, because then we're just saying that like, oh, well, this is actually what we spent, we agreed upon $3,000. Well, we agreed upon $3,000 per year, plus the initial startup fees for this. So I have a hard time when I keep seeing those numbers come up.
Let's keep going to the bigger.
Yeah. Anyway, so as we move forward, the DDA is looking into both permanent and decorative lighting options for Third Street. We discussed last month and absolutely, I talked to DPW, that Third Street can be wrapped and lit for the holiday season in the same manner as Main Street, which would save obviously on repair and replacement costs because they would be put up and taken down with the other lights. Another option that we discussed was for permanent lighting to be added, and that considering the weekly lights that are throughout the Harbor Springs, the commercial blocks, and to be added throughout the downtown, throughout the Third Street, those 2.5 blocks. And then there's some other options for other decorative lighting that are more of a permanent solutions. There's uplighting, bollard lighting, and additional LED lighting. And so these are some of the options that many cities use as far as bollard lights, upward tree lighting, things like that. So those are just options. Those are things. This is kind of what we've got. We have Main Street lit during holiday time. We have the tree lights that there are now on Third Street. There are currently 6 weekly lights in the Gurney's parking lot, which is, so to consider adding those. I mean, it'd be an extension as far as that. So the DDA asked me to look into the Third Street option, and we talked about that in the Downtown Enhancement Committee and also in the meeting last month. So when I looked into the Third Street lighting options, this is the weekly light. We have them right all around here. This is right from City Hall. They cost approximately $1,500 per light to be manufactured, and the Harbor Springs DPW said that they usually manufacture those throughout the winter. They have a lot of people request them even for their yards, and so they're manufacturing them in their slower times. I contacted Bear River, and the installation to put those in a permanent lighting down Third Street, using the existing infrastructure that's there, would be an estimated cost of $1,000 per light installation. We can also look at there's a couple other, electrical companies that we can look into options. So that's basically where we're at with this. And at this point, we need to decide whether we're going to move forward in looking at other options or not.
So the cost of that, at 14 lights down Third Street would be about $35,000 total for manufacturing of the lights and installation.
Which 15,000 to replace every 5, I mean, we're at what, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 years. That's only 10 years worth of, replacement costs. Well, less than, if you look at replacement costs plus per year. Per
No,
year
that-
replacement.
I run a business. I totally am understanding of looking at the value, and I totally see that, and I'm not against looking at other options. I just think that, like, we're not looking at all the numbers here. So if DPW is willing to then proceed to wrap our Christmas trees, are they going to charge us the way that we pay utilities currently already on those lights that run year round? So we may have to, but that could be an additional cost that we're looking at. Just like there might be additional costs. Like I think that we're not looking at the full picture right now, and that's what I think we're just jumping to some conclusions about looking at the full
Well,
picture.
the cost for the last 5 years in utilities on the current lights was $1,149.
Yeah, that's the cost of that, but how much does it cost DPW to put up the lights?
It's pretty nominal. I mean, they're going to be going down Main Street. I mean, and when I talked to Lucas about it, they're already going down Main Street with the cherry picker and wrapping them and.
It's just one of those
basically
things,
they
are they
said
gonna
it'd be-
proceed to then charge us for that every single year?
They are not. I talked to Lucas about it.
They're spending 7,000 a year or more on Main Street to do that.
Can we hold comment till the end, please?
That is what the cost analysis was as far as the capital improvements plan, but maybe that included the equipment costs, the labor and all of that. We have DPW and Harbor Springs Electric already on the payroll and along with their equipment. That's a cost that's going to be.
I think, we did talk years ago about extending the canopy lighting from Third Street onto Main Street,
Yeah, and it sounds like
keeping it
that
up.
was not wanted to be done by, wasn't wanted to.
No, are you asking if the DPW is wanting
No,
to
no,
do?
no,
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just saying that wouldn't be fiduciary responsible on our part to do that. And when you're looking at,
No, and I'm not saying, I'm not
Right.
arguing that direction at all. I'm
Right.
just saying that, what I am saying is that there are businesses on Third Street. Third Street does need a unique look to drive people back there. Because on any given day or evening at all, there is probably 1/5 less people, if that might be even generous, than are on Main Street. And I think that the evening traffic, and yes, we're talking about like 10 PM, people walking down that street instead of Main Street because it's lit cool, and then proceeding to look in windows of businesses and then wanting to come back the next day is huge.
My only other part that concerns me a little bit when I saw the total cost for reinstallation is 5.5 years ago or 5 years ago, it was $10,000. Now it's up to 15. So to only be able to project based on what the yearly cost has gone up per year has been $1,000 a year. So my concern is if it's going to continue on that upward trajectory of $1,000 per year going up. So in the next 5 years, are we looking at $20,000 to replace those lights? So if that's the case, then in 5 more years, we're gonna be looking at 25,000 and onward. So that's the only, from a business standpoint, to be able to look at
Absolutely.
onward budgets. So, I mean, I understand the lighting down on my block. We have no lighting.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
jet black down and I'm open until 9 PM every night, even in the winter.
Yeah.
So I understand the lighting issue because it's definitely a complaint I get on my block and we have businesses down on my end as well. I would love to find a permanent solution that has lighting and also something that doesn't require so much maintenance per year at a truly high cost and keep the holiday lighting up. And with the weekly lights, I just went and bought a truck in a community on Houston Street, which I had never been to, and their whole community is used with the weekly lights and it looks beautiful. They're in people's yards, they're outside of the community entrance. I drove by it at night just to kind of see how much lights put off. Quite honestly, it seems like more light than the holiday lights give off, but just a thought.
I think if you look at the cost analysis of what, if we take out the initial 22,000, which was the infrastructure for the, all of the
Conduit.
box conduit.
Transfer and transformer or, I mean, it's definitely gonna be a sunk cost if we don't reuse it again.
Well, no, I don't think anybody has ever once said, at least, I mean, I wasn't here for the last meeting. I was on vacation, but I do not believe in.
But I watched the video
And anything that I've heard that anybody is saying that we would ever walk away from doing anything back there, not turning off the lights, not removing anything, but trying to find something when we're looking at projects that we're not able to complete because we're on such a tight budget. I don't think that repairing lights up to that price when we have permanent solutions that could be way more cost effective.
I mean, I think that it's gonna be really hard to say that we're gonna spend $35,000 on new lights when we don't even know what it's gonna cost us to do the Merchants Walkway, and I really think that we should probably
Well,
focus
that
on
was-
finishing that as well before we even can consider doing anything.
And go ahead.
Well, I think too, what we have to do is look at the project strategically across the whole DDA area. Because we talked about not only Third Street, but we talked about looking and evaluating other areas and making it and putting a strategy forth that's consistent. It would, yes, it's uniqueness to draw something to a certain area has to be taken into consideration from the strategy of the whole look and plan. If you look like you're totally separate from something else, that doesn't add to the cohesiveness of the community.
Agreed.
So how do we fit those things in? And so what's the plan, not only for Third Street, but for other places as well? We made the statement to get all the lights on Main Street, Spring.
And I agree.
That made such a difference. Now we get to expand it to the next
Agreed.
stage. So not even looking at money, what's the strategy? What's the safety issues? What are the things that we as the DDA need to say, this what needs to happen for lights? And then what are the secondary things? How do we make them decorative? How do we make it beautiful
Yep.
and cohesive and appropriate for what's in the DDA?
Exactly.
And
when I
that's
talk-
where we're
Thank you.
charged.
Yeah.
No, and I think,
Yeah.
right, well, I mean, completely.
That's
agree
what
with
we
that.
need to
And when
do.
I talked to Margot when I was coming back from vacation, just to figure out what was going on. I think too, with looking at it from, and I said this with the Merchants Walkway, to go back to your point. I definitely think that we need to get the bids back from OHM to see what the Merchants Walkway is, because I don't want
We can't. jump
I've
into
been,
both
I've been on the DDA for a while and we've seen too many things and we've talked about a lot of things that haven't been able to get from start to finish. And I would really like, while, you know, on this board and we've accomplished so much, to be able to see these two projects not only have an idea, but to be done, to be complete. I don't want to see a 3-phase project here, whatever. And I do think that, you know, even if this comes in at $100,000, you know, so that's 100,000 and the lights are 135. In the reality of a city infrastructure project, you're talking $135,000, which in reality should not be that much. And over the course of a 2-year period, we could make that completely feasible with the money that we have now and the money that we will be getting into next year. If I understood my conversation with Margot correctly for the budget.
And what's been in the.
And what's
proposed
in,
plan.
and what's in our proposed plan. And to have something where, like Amy said, we could get those projects done and look further onto Bay Street.
Well, I think
down
that
on
we need to look,
High End.
I think, like, if I'm understanding you correctly, we need to look before we do.
Well,
We
yeah,
need to-
no,
we need to
today
make
wasn't
a-
about,
We need to
like,
make a cohesive plan for all of lighting, especially if it's in our master plan to work on lighting in the city. And we need to be able to have a cohesive plan of what we're doing going forward.
Yeah.
Step 1, 2, 3, maybe it is start with Third Street because the lights are broken.
we definitely need to start with.
You know,
Third
I'm
Street,
definitely
for sure.
not opposed to looking at other options. I just think that, you know, we can't be really jumping into making a change. I think that maybe fixing 3, 4 lights that are out, I believe I counted the other day when I was leaving work. I think that maybe that's not gonna cost us $15,000.
No,
It
it's
might
good.
look a little different, but
It's
that's
fine.
could be part of why we would maybe move forward.
Well, when he came out to do the repair, that's where we were started, and he said it was at least $3,000 of repair cost to get them all working, but he recommended 15,000, you know, replacing the whole thing at $15,000. I said, what can we do so we can get things working and, you know, looking pretty good? And he said, I can do this repair, which he did for $900, but, and his words were, I don't recommend spending $3,000 if you're going to, if we're gonna have to replace it at a cost of $15,000. So, I mean, that's where he came at it with me.
You know, the lighting on Third Street, yeah, because I took lots of pictures and wandered around, because I honestly never really noticed them except for speed, because hers are beautiful.
And thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And it looks like an afterthought. It is not a cohesive statement. Those that have trees have lights, and those down towards State Street that don't have trees don't have lights. And they're hanging, they're not being taken care of. So it almost looks like, well, whatever, it's only Third Street, right? I think that a more permanent, some type of more permanent decorative lighting, could be weekly lighting, whatever it happens to be, that brings that whole, 2.5 blocks, I think it is, or 2 blocks, into the CBD. Right now, it doesn't, you know, when I walk towards the post office, I'm like, there's nothing down here. There's nothing that says, you know what, we're part of downtown. So, I mean, I would be in favor of, I don't know what the concept should be, but I'm in favor of looking at more.
When I was looking at the permanent, the only thing I'll add is the ballard lighting, is that what you called it? Ballard lighting.
Yeah.
My only concern with that, and just to bring it up right now, again, is a maintenance cost. You have stuff that's low to the ground.
This is how high the snow is in front of my
Well,
building.
that-
This is how high the snow is in front of
So,
my building
yeah.
that I have to shovel it up on top in front of the
So
salon
so
there.
do I.
So
Um,
there's no way that anything that's.
That is why I was just gonna say, I don't feel that going in that direction is a good plan, because we'd have to talk about removal, which again, you wouldn't, and I also don't think it's gonna give enough lighting to do anything that is wanting to be done on Third Street. So I don't think that entire page, in my opinion, is even a feasible to use time to look.
Al Dyke
Oh,
did send me an email, about just making sure that whatever we do is kind of in sync with dark sky lighting.
Yeah.
And Amy.
I would just like to make a recommendation that the Downtown Enhancement Committee take this to the next step. We know we've got a good concept or a good start with the evaluation of Third Street, but they look at all the other places where lighting could be feasible and start to develop a plan before we make any decisions. And we look at it, once again, sorry to keep using the word, but strategically against the whole plan. And then we can start putting money against it and see what happens. But I don't think we're going to resolve.
No,
Not
no,
that that's the point today,
No.
but
no.
I think that's what really needs to happen.
I
And
do
make
think
it-
because of how and what disrepair Third Street is. And if we want any, I do think that it's something that we need to talk about, and I agree with Cora, we need to get the Merchants Walkway bid in to figure out how much that's gonna come in at. We need to figure out how much, I mean, we have a pretty good idea from top end of how much this is gonna cost to put in the lights. So I think that we need to look at those two things to see if it's feasible, but I do think that it's something that we need to make a decision on sooner rather than later, so all of the lights aren't out and we're sitting in the fall or even late summer where there's no lights and it looks worse than it does now for going into summer.
But I think we do need to make, the decision needs to be made today here on putting more money into the repair of the current lights on Main Street, Third Street, excuse me.
If you're gonna completely change them, if there is
That's
gonna be a change in there, then to put up money into it now until we have that decision, I don't think that makes sense.
I agree with you.
So then a motion would need to be made that we would not fix the lights on Third Street, knowing,
Not
go,
yet. Yeah, just not yet.
Not
not,
until we.
No,
Well, I think
no,
that we need to,
because
if we're gonna do something like that, we need to put a cap on it because we know how long it takes for decisions to be made sometimes here. So I think that if we're gonna say open-endedly, we're not gonna repair these lights until we make a decision on what the new lights are gonna be, that could be 3 years from now.
I mean, I
They could
personally,
just be literally falling apart.
well, no, I mean, I think we could make a motion that says that we're going to,
we need to wait for the OHM bid.
and we're gonna put different lighting there.
Yeah.
That the DDA will be responsible for alternative lighting down Third Street.
Well, that we're moving. I mean,
I think that, I'm not gonna agree to different lighting for sure. I mean, I think that I would agree to looking at options of different lighting. But that's as far as I would agree to at this point.
And that's fair.
I would agree to looking at different options, but I'm not gonna agree to going forward with a completely different direction. I do, that just doesn't make sense to me right now without enough information.
I think we can, or the board can decide whether they're going to make more repairs and whether they're going to look into other options, look into options, and whether, say by fall, there's a greater idea of whether,
I'm
board
hoping,
has as
I mean,
well.
I'm hoping by our June meeting, we'll have the bid back from OHM and we will have a number of what Merchants Walkway is gonna cost. And then from a budgetary standpoint, be able to look at what we have that we're working with, because
It's
I mean, we
that's
can't.
just gonna depend on the engineering process.
Well, exactly,
That
that's what I'm
needs to be
saying. I mean, my hope, I said hope.
But I
I'm
think
hoping.
it's important to remember it here, and Nikki, you said it, and we've talked about it a lot. If we do want to move forward on anything, that we need to move forward.
Yes,
And
I don't want to see, like
No
Cora
more
just
co-
said, no 3 years. I mean, I'm not
right,
for that, because I would love to see lighting of some sort down by me. I would love to see lighting down on Bay Street. I'd love to see a cohesive lighting plan that puts the whole CBD, so everybody knows that every aspect of the area is walkable.
And maybe
I
that's
mean-
just the motion, is to create a cohesive lighting plan for all of downtown.
Well, and I think
And
that's
then,
what,
and then to act on it.
and I think that's
Right.
what that's exactly what we're talking about here is,
Phase
know,
one is
not-
Third Street and figure out.
yeah, phase one needs to be Third Street.
But I think that we need to know what phase 2 and 3 are before we can just go ahead and do phase 1. I mean,
Right,
I just think
exactly.
that's.
Well,
doesn't
now
make
we'll
sense.
go into, our lighting plan that we already have in place in our master plan for sure. But I think with the price that we're going at, a third of the budget over a 10-year period of time being used on one street in the CBD is not financially responsible. Because it will not allow us to be able to go forward with lighting plans to make the rest of the town cohesive at that financial rate per year. Even
So-
with,
So a motion that we would need would be to not repair the current lights not to put any more money into the repair of the current lights on Third Street and to have the Downtown Enhancement Committee hammer out the execs on a recommendation for lighting.
So it's about how
The
create
yeah.
start working on a plan,
Put forth
Right,
a
a
plan,
plan.
a comprehensive plan for the for all the DDA, or the CBD. So with the priority that Third Street is the first step.
I mean, I would almost just say put a pause on it right now for what we're doing going forward, put a pause on report pairs, but that's just me.
Yeah, until we know what the big plan is. So we can do it and do it right.
Saying we're never gonna go forward doing that
Yeah, no,
doesn't really make sense yet.
no.
Well, I think if you're talking about the current lighting that's there, I think the board needs to make a decision on, I mean, if we pause it, then we're saying that we might.
But,
And
but we very well might. I mean, if Merchants Walkway comes back at, you know, a super big amount, then yeah, I think that we need to make a motion that we're going to not agree to put in any repairs until we get back further numbers and the Downtown Enhancement Committee can meet and making Third Street a
and
priority.
make a strategic plan. Matt?
Did I hear earlier in the conversation that the city would put Christmas lights up in the winter time?
Yes.
Okay, how about we cobble it together for the summer? Whatever it is, $900 or $1,000 bucks.
We've already paid that. Now it's up to 3,000 to repair what's back there currently. And he said he didn't recommend us
Right.
just
But I-
piecemealing the repairs.
But just get us through do something to get us through the summer. They all come down in the fall, we'll put the Christmas lights up. The enhancement committee works on your cohesive plan for the future with Third Street as a priority. And next year, maybe we'll have be ready to do something on Third Street in the spring.
So are you suggesting we spend the $3,000?
Well, maybe not 3,000, but
That's what it is.
that's what.
I mean,
That's what it is. That's what he already
Yeah.
said.
It was at 3,000 and I said, what can you do? And he said, I can do what he's done so far for
The
900 and
900.
we spent the 900 to do that.
And how many trees are out?
4, is it, Gail?
Yeah, I think there is. One has just one
I mean,
strand of lights laying
I would-
there.
I would really like to see if we can get this bid back, whenever we can get the bid back from OHM. Because again, if we're talking about permanent lights and the board agrees to go with the weekly style lights, we're talking to install, we've already got a quote from an electric company because we already have the initial infrastructure back there. We already know how much it is to fabricate each light. We're talking about a project that's $35,000 in total to do 14 lights back there. That's it. So if that's something that we can do in conjunction with Merchants Walkway, with the budget between now and next year, we could have permanent lights back on Third Street by next summer if they do the fabrication process the city does this winter. But it would mean that we would not be able to talk about this for 6 months and trying to make decisions. It would be, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we need to go forward and get it done. So there's no lights back there all next summer. And I think that's
And we've
the
all
point
agreed,
that
we
I'm
want
trying to
to, we
make.
want to proceed forward in a strategic manner.
Yeah,
But if we say the word pause and say, well, we may well repair them.
Something needs to be done back there, but I think that a permanent solution, because we've already made the big initial investment by putting in the infrastructure, that's the big part. And you have to include that in whatever you're doing on a yearly budget because of a depreciation value, just like when you buy new equipment. So until that money depreciates of what your initial investment is, it still has to be put in from a business standpoint. But
this isn't a decade, this isn't months pause, this could be till the next meeting.
exactly,
I mean, we're just not going to do it today.
no, we can't do anything until we
Right,
get the
so it's
Merchants
not a
Walkway,
big pause, it's just.
until we get the
till we get
OHM
a
in
plan
there.
together.
And
So-
coming up with a strategic plan could be literally adding the weekly lights in other areas of the downtown that aren't lit properly.
Right.
Which I think that would be a beautifully strategic plan. I'd be super happy to have one in front of the salon. So.
Someone like to make a motion.
So I'm met with what Matt said, I'm a little confused about, so. So there is another $300 or $3,000 expenditure we have to do to get the current lights
Correct.
up
Yes.
and going.
Yes.
What was the $900 for?
That's
Just,
what we spent this spring,
just to get them, up-
to get them
to
where
get
they're.
fixed what
To
other.
get them where they're looking
Now
right
we
now.
got another four that need to
I
be
don't
fixed.
know, I don't know.
What
because he had
exactly
gave-
did those that $900?
He gave me the initial quote of $3,000. I can fix these for $3,000, but you need to replace them. I said, what can you do? So I don't know now, what, is it $3,000? Is it, 2,200? I mean, I guess I don't know, because we haven't had another conversation after he said, let's quote them, let's do $15,000 to replace them all.
It was, you told me it was $3,000 to get all the lights working correctly.
Get them working again right now. And that's where, and then he said, don't throw good money at, after bad. And, that's what he said. I wouldn't recommend doing that because the replacement, really do need replacement costs. It's been 5 years, whatever. So I said, what can you do to make this look better? And he
My-
said, I can do $900 right now and make them look better. Apparently,
I would love to know what that was.
they're not looking better, so.
So if we look at,
I mean, I would love to know what the $900 is. Still, like Gail just said, one that literally has one limb of lights on it. So I don't really know what was done.
could
I mean,
we-
I think that like maybe just doing it, so something that was brought up in the last meeting that I listened to was maybe just fixing the ones that are in the middle that are broken. The ones that are out, like, so if there's an end, one or two that are out, letting it go by the wayside for now. But ones that are like in the middle, so it's just like one is a very obviously off.
Or do we make a motion that we'll spend up to $3,000 to make it look as cohesive as possible to get us through the summer as we put the plan together, and we put a cap on what that amount is? That's the best plan. Would that be an option?
Or just
Well, the
find
cap
out
would
how
be-
much it would be to.
the cap
Right,
would
if we
be,
want to have a motion today and act on it, so.
the cap would be $15,000. I mean, if you want.
No, Amy,
No,
we
no, I know.
to replace,
I know.
to
I know.
repair, right?
To repair, just to get it to where,
Summer. We cap it at, we'll spend an additional $2,000. We would cap it at.
but that just gives her the opportunity to go and just go do it. 'Cause
I think we
I'm
should.
not in agreement to spend $2,000 on the lights that could potentially, since we're not replacing them. That could potentially tree by tree go out. Because we have been told by the gentleman that bought Holiday Lighting that there's no guarantee with any of them back there with repair right now.
Right, yes. I mean, his recommendation was not to do the repair that we needed to do.
If we just,
The full
if we just
reinstall.
look at it again from a financial
couldn't.
standpoint. If we were to spend $3,000 to get the lights working back there, it'd be 1/10 of the budget to do new permanent lighting.
I mean, a financial standpoint, would you let like half the lights at the pier stay out in the parking lot this summer just because it was gonna cost a little too much money and you want to completely do something different, so you're gonna let them stay out all summer long?
I don't think you need to bring my business into this.
Well, I'm just, the parking lot area,
I don't own the parking lot, the city does.
So what do,
okay.
what do we do for the summer to get through?
I think we need to like wait. I think we need to wait until we get the OHM bid back.
But I don't.
Because that could be just next month, and then we'd be able to say, okay, well, we don't have the money at all to even think about doing a full repair or to be able to do permanent lighting. We can, however, we will be able to do the reinstall because that's the only thing financially that we can do right now. That was my point, was that we're working on such a little budget where we're actually having to squabble over $135,000 that I don't want to use any of that money that we could potentially use towards that budget if we have the availability to fix everything all at once, if it's
Somebody was-
financially possible.
Rachel?
Well, I'm just wondering, we had budgeted 3,500 a year based on. Do we have that left in our budget? I mean, we're talking about a future budget for the merchants.
Not if you look
walkway
at
and Third
everything
Street.
not if you look at everything that's been spent down Third Street.
What have we spent? What do we have left for this, is they said that we budgeted $3,500 a year in repairs and maintenance for
So we
Third
still have
Street.
that remaining for this year.
So we've already spent 900 of that 3,500 on that repair, so that would leave us with.
But you have to look at,
No, but I mean, she's
Okay.
right. I mean, because that's what we've agreed that we would spend on
It's $2,400 left in the budget.
for
Third
that
Street
3,500.
repairs.
Yeah,
We gotta do something, because we
Yeah.
can't leave it the way it is for the summer, because it looks bad. We could leave it for the summer, and it looks bad, and then we look bad.
Well, exactly, I mean,
Well, then you just have to turn them off because.
Yeah, or turn them
I
off
mean, they look ridiculous.
and wait till fall
It's like
and
an
they put the
afterthought.
Christmas lights up.
I guess that's the decision before you right now.
I'd say. Because we're never gonna decide on a long-term lighting plan, or at least not today.
So you
And probably not
you can
the
do
next
the
year.
repairs now through the summer and work on the long-term lighting plan, or you can not do the repairs and still work on the long-term lighting plan. So I think those are really your only your options at this point.
And got the money in the budget, or some money in the budget.
so I guess we'll need some kind of a motion to see where the board sits. And we take a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to do $2,400 worth of repairs on the Third Street lights.
a second.
is that even a possibility though, Margot, with what he said?
It's a possibility, we're paying for it.
$2,400. I mean, it will repair the lights. I don't know, will it repair everything? But I mean.
I was just wondering what,
As cohesive as possible.
If that's just the middle section or every other
Right.
tree or whatever we can do to make
Right.
it look
Or a cohesive look.
respectable.
So we have a motion and a second, so we can go back into discussion. If anybody wants to.
Is it over?
Call vote.
I think I. Call a vote, okay?
Yeah.
Margo?
Oh, you want a roll call?
Yeah.
All right. We'll go that way.
So the motion on the table is that we spend. We cap
$2,400 for a cohesive repair look. And then the downtown enhancement committee will work to develop a longer strategic plan for the central business district.
Do we need something else in that motion, that what if we spend the $2,400 and 2 more trees go out?
I think that's the cap.
That's the cap is the point.
Yeah, we can't spend up to.
Up to, so.
The roll of the dice.
Okay,
They can choose the right trees.
Well, looks, yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a squirrel in it, for sure.
Yeah, or kind was.
All right, Nikki. No. Wow. Jody.
no,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Rachel.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Yes.
The motion passes.
okay, moving on.
Okay, we'll try to make the rest of this quick.
RRC,
RRC, yes, Jody.
preparing for a joint meeting on the 22nd. We have a full agenda.
And
And
I think you all received the agenda.
did you all?
I
I
sent
feel
it
like I'm
out.
not getting some emails. I didn't get the email from Gail. I must not be getting some emails.
It's the one that you told me that I had the wrong date. of the-
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay, okay.
Yeah.
right,
I put down Monday and then. I-
Okay, yes, yep, I got that one. That's.
So there is also an event on Facebook. I'd encourage all of you to kind of share it regularly, so we can get a good amount of attendance here. The object of this is to show the unity between all of the groups, including the city, Parks and Rec, the DDA,
Yeah, okay,
the
the joint.
Yeah,
meeting, yeah.
chamber.
It's in the evening.
It is
Yes.
in the evening,
Sorry, I got that one, sorry.
It would be great if all of you, since it is going to be a joint meeting between city council, DDA, planning commission and chamber of commerce. So it, as many of you that can make it, that would be. Nice to have the full, no, it's gonna be at the
Holy
Holy
Child.
Childhood Community Center and it's open to the public.
We moved the date because of this parade.
There will be snacks provided.
What time is that?
6 yeah. Yeah.
Kiosk directory. Ms.
Thank you,
Gail.
Gail.
Oh, I'm kind of out
Well,
of pocket for a little while.
Gail's been on it.
So I don't know, where are we? I have every update to new businesses. I think I have every update.
I have sent we are on our third draft of the kiosk directory. I think that with this last little bit of revisions, we will have a final one and we will be going to print with that. And so we are much further ahead than we were in the past. So thank you very much for your help with
I
that.
think Gail wandering the streets.
I did want you to know that last year, the cost to reprint and recode the directories was $1,698, along with a $225 directory redesign. So hopefully we'll be in that same ballpark for this year, but
Did we get the info? Was it a chamber blast about Little Juice?
It was on there last year.
It was?
yeah.
Because they.
Oh.
the sign on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were supposed to open last year, but they had some shipping refrigeration.
Markham, director update?
Yes.
And thank you, Gail, again for your work on that.
Okay, so just briefly, we all know the tax roll has not come in yet. So our revenue we have not started receiving our revenue. Really, the only changes have been in wages and contracting, well, and we do have an additional to the downtown projects here, which we've budgeted. We did just receive the $3,000 survey invoice so that has gone up significantly in the last month. Obviously, we know that our legal fees are higher than we had budgeted because we are having to go to the outside attorney. So that's really our changes. As summer tax roll comes in, we'll see our revenue go up. Questions?
Do we have an estimate of, that was from our budget, but we know that the tax rolls will be a little bit higher from a TIF?
Yeah. Yes, and they're going to be even higher projected for next year, I believe, from our base assessment.
So we basically work on a budget of 120,000
Yes.
per se.
Yeah.
Do we know what dollar amount kind of increase we might be looking at this year?
What did we budget? We budgeted 62 to come in. I think we're going to be coming in.
If I remember correctly, in talking to Jeff, it was closer to 80.
So,
But I'll know our taxes we're working on them right now with the county, so I'll know by the end of this week.
okay, cool.
As you all know, I'm working on a survey, which is completed and will be going out this week to all of the businesses to gauge rental costs or in the property, in the central business district as to whether the survey includes, do you rent or own your business property? If you are leasing, what is what are you paying per square foot and what is the square footage of your property? What is the type of your business? These are informations that Jeff Grimm and I have been talking and trying to work together, information that he'd like to have and that I would like to have in the downtown. So it will hopefully the businesses will be very willing to respond to the survey. They're anonymous, so it doesn't, you don't have to say who you are. Main Street Gardens, we need to decide on a date. I spoke with the National Honor Society and they came back with Memorial Day weekend. And I said, that's not going to work. We need them in before then. The problem with the city planting date on the 24th is that most of those students will be gone, but
Okay, so I think I can ask Olin, but
our physics trip was like declined because everyone's gonna be gone, so I think the 24th could work.
Oh,
still.
great, great,
So
okay.
I'll ask him like today and I'll contact you, but I'm almost positive we can do it.
So then we will plan on the 24th being the planting date along with the rest of the city gardens. And anyone that can come out and volunteer to plant, they're really not hard to do, you know, okay. So some of them are not hard to plant. It depends on how hard you want to make the project too.
Those will be really easy this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Some of them are gonna need more than one bag of potting soil.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Enhance-
24th,
dirt
that's a
enhancement.
Wednesday,
Wednesday morning, we will
we
plan.
would
to-
start at,
What plants this year?
I was probably gonna stick with begonias.
Deer ate them to nothing.
Could we do it at like? Cause I know we have like
Deer prints.
first
in
and
the
second
beds.
hour, we're gonna do a project instead of going to
Okay,
Michigan Adventures, so could we do it like later morning, I think?
yeah, or you can come start, so are you thinking like 10 or later?
I can do it.
Probably like, could we do 11? 10:30?
10:30, 10:30, 11, I mean, I don't know how many people are planning to volunteer for that.
well,
I'm
let's
happy
send
to help.
a,
I can't donate like 4 or 5 hours like last year, so.
No.
Okay,
let's send around an email about
Okay.
that.
Oh, and then,
If-
yeah.
And then, yeah.
you know, on exact time.
And-
And
If Kathy would like to make a recommendation on
I was
flowers or,
shocked last year as to what happened to begonia. They literally were pulled out with deer prints in beds. They must have had the best night snack.
didn't we discuss greens in the past because of the,
Our expert here suggests marigolds.
If I can make a suggestion, I can tell you what we're putting in down at Marina Park, and it is geraniums. I'm sorry, yes, geraniums, like a dark red, marigolds, kind of red and orange, and then ageratum, which is sort of a purple blue, and the deer didn't touch them. They're super hardy to foot traffic to some extent anyways, and they do pretty well without like a super regular watering.
okay,
geraniums will be quite a bit more expensive.
Marigolds,
Yeah.
I think are,
They're
most deer resistant, I
Yeah.
think, so,
Okay.
and are fun, so.
Okay.
And it just depends if you get the little ones or the bigger ones, so we'll talk.
also
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Polly's,
Amount of geraniums where we do like recommendations, but.
at Polly's, they sell these bags, which are all placed around the pier right now, that is white powder and, I'm sorry, white pepper. And there's another substance, and it keeps the deer and the rabbits away.
You can look
And-
into those, all the
Yeah,
stuff. I'll start.
okay.
Yeah, and I can speak with Regan about what's happening.
Old
So-
business,
So, oh, no,
Oh.
I'm not done, sorry. Two more things, just notices that the public bathrooms still are only functioning at, Marina right now. They're probably not till closer to, Memorial Day weekend for the other bathrooms to open. You know, a lot of businesses are getting a lot of questions about it already. They're from the morning till 6 p.m. The courtesy docks are now out and the Marina will be opening officially on May 15th.
Can you update the signage for bathrooms for location?
yeah,
that was really helpful last year.
That was very helpful. That reduced significantly, I think.
And yes, as soon as I get a date as when, I haven't wanted to send them
That's
out
fine.
since we're not
Yeah,
We're not
once you
actually
know.
officially open.
Yep.
I don't want people to
That'd
be
be great, thank
confused that, oh, now it says, we've got all these bathrooms, but, okay. Other business, the chamber has come to me asking if we would be willing to sponsor some of their chamber opportunities. So the first one was the sidewalk sale. She said that the event cost them about $500 annually and asked if we would do $250 and we would get our logo on their publicity that they're sending out. The next one was the Friday night music in the parks, which is from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., which was a total sponsorship of $400. And then Sunday music in the park, which was a total sponsorship of $500. We could do any, I guess, amount that we would like to sponsor if we want, if the DDA chooses to sponsor any of those.
I think that that's something that it's helping bring people downtown, so I think that that's kind of what we're about, so.
We just want to give a set amount that they can put towards what they want, or are there certain things that people think it makes more sense to be involved with than others?
Yeah, I know that
No.
if you're involved in the sidewalk sales and you want your name on the ad that they take out, that you do pay a certain marketing fee, whether it's $50 or 75, I can't remember what it was. So I know that they have other avenues, like as far as that goes, but do we want to? Yeah, I think maybe just a set amount.
Give them $500.
Yeah,
500
is fine,
I move we give them $500 to do as they,
whatever is
or
helpful
we,
for them.
yeah, whatever works for them.
And that we ask our, logo to be added to whatever.
If they want to
Particularly
do
the
it
sidewalk
across
sale.
all three, that's fine, but if they only want to do it,
Can we consider a little lower amount?
we can, what
I
would you
guess
like to
I'm just-
propose?
I mean, they asked for 400 or 500, so I guess lower would be 400.
Is that what they asked for?
Well, they asked for half of the sidewalk sale, then they told me the total amounts for the music. So I guess it's up to. The music was 400 for Friday night music and 500 for the Sunday night music, Sunday afternoon music.
So there's-
If you split all those in after, it's 700. If they want half of each of those, it's 700. 500 is lower than it.
with a total of, what, 1,400? So, what would you like to recommend, Jody? 400? 25? 50? 75? Oh.
I would want to consider like just a $300 rather than a $500 donation. But if the board is set on 500, I'm fine with that.
I think 500 is fine. Bring an event that brings people downtown.
Bring people downtown.
500?
That's for me.
Alright, right, move for 500.
Amy made a motion. We need a second. Okay. All in favor?
Yep.
Anyone
Yep.
opposed? Okay. Public comment?
Okay.
Dana.
I'm
Dana.
over 372 West Summit. I'm chair of Parks and Rec right now, vice chair of tree board. And just a couple comments about your projects. They're all very exciting. Let's see, on Merchants Walkway, I would just caution about too much permanent built-in stuff. Like, I think flexibility is really good. Like, you even know what kind of stuff you're gonna do there. Like maybe like the big permanent concrete benches aren't that great to sit in, and maybe it'd be nicer to have some tables and chairs if somebody wants to go work out there at lunchtime. So I think about flexibility when you go to this next stage. I think on lighting, Amy hit the nail on the head that it's just, you have to think strategically. And I wonder if Vanessa might give you guys a quote to come up with a downtown lighting master plan. And that way you would be incorporating what's happening in Main Street with this just distinct project on 3rd Street with Merchants Walkway with A Street and all that. I can't imagine it would be a whole lot of money, but I think it'd probably be money really well spent.
Good idea. I've had people comment about Down Bay and Down
Yeah.
Spring and
That totally is in their wheelhouse. Yep, and then trees on 3rd Street. Have you guys talked to Ben Beeling at all, the city arborist?
Not
And I don't even know if this is on the table, like having the lights permanently installed and continuing forward with that, but Ben advised us against drilling screw holes into trees to put like tree ID, like at Kiwanis Park, when we were looking into doing that. So it seems like that type of thing would apply to drilling holes for putting permanent lights and conduits into the trees. And then another big problem is trees get wider, and so you have these lights kind of strangling them. So
Those are the issues that
Those are the issues.
those are the issues that we are facing.
Yeah. Okay, do I have anything else? That might be it. Oh, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tim Nash, great job. I mean, there's a lot of work that's being put on there, and that's why I didn't have the time, that's why I'm not there. But just the history on the 3rd Street lights, we did do a survey of the entire city that that Rachel did, the city actually voted that they wanted the lights on the Third Street. I actually personally walked up and down Third Street every time, up to every house and asked them. And that's what bubbled up in the DDA to do that. That's why we budgeted that. The numbers, I would be cautious of the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. So when you say it's 10,000, if you take out the infrastructure, it's not only $22,000. If you look at that, there's $4,200 the next year. That was also infrastructure, another $500 one that was infrastructure. So you have to remove those if you look at the annual amount going forward. Same way if you do new sidewalks in town, they cost a bunch of money, and then you want to do maintenance to keep them. You're not adding that number back in there for your annual cost. So, and then if you look at that, the numbers that she had up there were 2 years that there weren't any cost whatsoever for the lights at all to maintain it. So if you budget that number and you don't spend $3,000, in my viewpoint in the budget, that 3,000 will go to the next year, and that 3,000 will go to the next year. So right now, if you look at the budget, you actually have $9,000 for this year to do it. Now that I'm saying that, because I think the big picture is good to figure out what to do next, to light up Third Street to make it part of the downtown area. So I would say that there's been a lot of work done on downtown lighting for the entire downtown. We, with Rachel and I contracted with 2 separate companies that did lighting for the entire downtown. From Bay, Main, all the side streets, everything. They opted to take out the shepherd's hook because they didn't like the pipes that stuck up there. They said that they didn't like the looks of it. That's just a personal thing, but I would say if before you do the whole lighting structure, maybe you could go get that information and look, there's 2 complete plans with light drawings, where they go, dark sky. There was a lot of work done with that. So I hate to see you guys redo the wheel that's already there and utilize the information. But again, thanks for looking into this. I really appreciate it. And I know it's a lot of work, and seeing the discussion is always great to hear, to find an end result that works for everybody. So,
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Hi.
Wendy Reed, could you put the merchants walk figure on there? The archway that's on Spring Street is my concern because we drive through there. So that can't happen. And it reminds me of the one in Charleroi. It's a nice idea that really delineates that space nicely, but we drive through there and the city mandated the 3 parking spots that we put in when we built the building. So we have to keep that access, and now you can't put anything there. I couldn't get a moving van through there. Where you would have it to put it up so high that it would be worthless. So that can't happen. Also, the steps, the city doesn't shovel those in the winter. So I would consider putting some kind of heat tape or reflective surface on it that melts the snow, because they're not safe. If you're going to be encouraging people to walk back there, you should do something to keep them safe.
Would that be something that if that went forward, something that the city would be able to properly maintain back there? Was the original
I would think,
issue anyway, was making that passable and making that area accessible and safe for pedestrian walkway.
Wendy, go ahead.
Someone had mentioned to me spending dollars cleaning up our property. And I want to remind you that you're 100% funded, as far as I know, with public funds. So you cannot spend any of your dollars on private property, such as mine, or anyone else's property back there, because there was another property mentioned to me.
If we have a landscape easement on the properties, which we do.
Well, if you are going to do that, then let's take, for instance, Coldwell Banker's property. You recruit that, and Grant Real Estate realizes, as well as Berkshire Hathaway and the other real estate firms in town, that you are taxing them to improve Coldwell Banker's property. How do they feel? We're too small of a town for that. As I said, the Vitars will maintain their own property, and I would encourage everyone else back there to maintain their own property, and then this whole issue does not become ugly.
Well, it hasn't been done in the past.
Well, it can become ugly.
Well, then we're responsible if we have the landscape easement.
I want this put in the minutes that I specifically pointed out, you're funded with public dollars. You can't improve private property with public dollars. Third Street lighting, you've only talked about how much it's costing you. We have no figures on how much the Third Street residents pay in taxes to the DDA. You tax them, but the lights are the only benefit they receive for those taxes. If you tear out the lighting, then all the dollars spent on putting it in are wasted. And I don't have a dog in that fight. That's just my observation. And unfortunately, you're in a position right now where we have to prioritize getting the Merchants Walkway completed. Because the city's financial liability exposure back there, I don't want to go through another winter looking at that, thinking about somebody falling back there and damn not hurting themselves and the city getting sued. And all I can remember is that guy in 1983 who fell in a city manhole, lost his leg and sued the city for $2 million and won. That's the same situation that we're looking at right there, right now. And then the last thing is putting public comment at the end of this meeting disrespects our time. We have to sit here throughout the entire meeting to tell you our input. If you put our public comment at the end of every issue, we can make our comments in the meeting and not have to sit through the whole meeting. That's it.
Thank you, Wendy. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Did I have a second?
Second.
Second? Nikki can do it today.
Yeah. Seriously?
Thank you.
Thank you.